I'm here with Robert Morrow, liberty activist and political researcher, and today we'll be talking about the Travis County Medical School tax and what implications it will have for folks living here in Austin and Travis County. Thanks for being with me today, Robert.
Glad to be here, Clay.
So we're looking at medical school tax as Proposition 1 on the Travis County ballot come November, and in early voting, which is coming up very shortly. Now, just really quickly here, just to give some background to the listeners, what this tax will do is raise the tax in the Travis County Health District from 7.89 cents per $100 valuation to 13 cents per $100 valuation, an average of $107 per year increase on the medium-sized home. The claim is that the school will eventually cost $4.1 billion. They're trying to raise something like $54 million per year in these new taxes. And the claim that they have is this will create 15,000 more jobs. So my first question to you, Robert, is so what exactly is the medical school tax citizens in the Travis County Health District will be voting on in this election season?
Okay, the med school tax is a gargantuan property tax increase that's going to be levied on every property owner in Travis County, whether you own a home, whether you own apartments, whether you own commercial real estate, whether you own Barton Creek Mall, Lakeline Mall, any building that you own or real estate that you own will be taxed. And it's going to the Central Health District. You know, the very name, Central Health, I find offensive, Clay. The very name of that, like they're in charge of health. They're really not. They're in charge of controlling your life. And so the tax would have come out to be $54 million a year, every year forever here in Travis County.
Wow, that's definitely a large number. And how exactly did they come up with that requisite, that number, that tax increase for the medical school? How did they come up with that number?
I have no idea. I figure they think that's probably the most they can steal out of your pocket at one time and still have the voters possibly even think about approving it. It's going to be a very close race. I predict this race will be a 50% to 50% race going down to the wire because the hospital district itself barely passed 55% to 45% 8 years ago, but now we're in a far different situation with the city of Austin going to be slammed with a massive tax this time, and plus, you know, the taxpayers are feeling very stretched. And I'll tell you about that in a minute.
Okay, and now, the claim that's being pushed forward for this medical school is that, you know, it's going to create jobs, it's going to help the economy, it's going to generate more economic development here.
It will. It will for, the answer is it will. For a small group of several hundred people who are going to be sucking incredible amounts of money off of the rest of Travis County and everybody who owns a house or a building or a piece of property. So that's why they're so enthusiastically for it. The people around Kirk Watson, Rick Perry has endorsed this as well. There is a candidate running for the House in House District 48, House District 48 named Robert Thomas. His wife works for the University of Texas. She works in the Health Affairs Department, and she's a chancellor there, and she makes $343,000 a year.
Wow.
And her salary has gone up 50% in the past 4 years. So the answer to your question is, Clay, is yeah, there's some people are going to be making a lot of money off this at the expense of hundreds of thousands of people and everybody else who lives in Travis County who's going to be robbed at $100 a time for the next forever.
In perpetuity. Well, thanks for breaking that down for me. Now, it's from what you're telling me, it sounds like this is going to only benefit really directly a very limited number of people. So if that's the case, why do we need a medical school here in Austin?
We don't. That's the whole point. What this med school tax is, it's real simple. It's a massive increase in government in Travis County. You'll have more government-paid teachers, government-paid doctors, dishing out Medicaid, which is free health care to the population, at the expense of everybody else who's paying for this. Everybody else who's paying for all those government salaries, government teachers, government doctors, dishing out free Medicaid. So the medical school concept was like, wouldn't it be great if we had a medical school and they could practice on all these poor people or whatever, you know, and give out this free medical care? And wouldn't that be a great idea? That's their thinking. But what they aren't thinking is that people have to pay for this at a time that their water bill is going up, their electric bills are going up, their toll road taxes are going up, Obamacare is about to be implemented, federal income tax rates are going to go up. All these things is a perfect storm slamming the homeowner and the taxpayer in Travis County. It's going to be a very close election. If you folks get out there and you fight this thing, you campaign at the polls against it, or you give money to buy signs against it and put out robophone calls, we can beat this thing. It's going to be a very close election, though.
And that was interesting how you said, kind of tied it in with the whole national healthcare scheme that's been passed through the federal government, what's more lovingly known as to some people as Obamacare. How does this tie into Obamacare and the larger scheme of government-issued healthcare through insurance company interests that are also working usually with an HMO system, what we've kind of seen the past 30, 40 years, and how that's being taken to a new level now with Obamacare?
Well, I don't know the details, but I will tell you this. At the federal level, they're making a huge move to increase the size of the government and decrease your freedom as a human being. And at the local level, people who think that way, not just Kirk Watson, but a certain amount of Republicans as well, they're doing the exact same thing. So, do I know every single little detail of how this whole thing works? No. Do I know what the general concept is? More government, less freedom, less taxes for you, and a lower quality of health care. You could be taking your property taxes and buying your own medical insurance. But if you own a home, you're going to be losing $100 a year. If you own a big home, you're going to be losing $400 or $500 or $600 a year. If you own a huge home, you're going to be losing $1,000 a year. If you own an office building, you'll be paying, if that's $1 million office building, you'll be paying $500 more per year, every year, forever. And we have real estate in this town that is worth, tens of millions. I mean, collectively, a lot more than that.
Wow. So how will all these factors actually affect the cost of providing health care for the patient? How is this going to affect a patient's costs when they go and see the doctor?
Well, for most of you will not have any benefit from this at all, because you're not going to be on Medicaid, going in there getting all the free health care put out by the government doctors and the government teachers. So it's just, I don't know. What's it like when somebody gets smacked in the head and robbed and their wallet taken? How does it affect their health care? They have less money to pay for it. And right now, the property owner and the taxpayers are basically being smacked in the head, and there are home invasions and robberies all over Travis County in this Proposition 1 of Central Health.
Yes, sir. And one of the campaign slogans for Vote for Prop 1, we've already started to see the big yard signs going up around town and in Travis County, is they'll have a little stick figure with his arms raised like in a triumph, and it says, Prop 1, vote yes, keep Austin healthy. So my question is, how do we sincerely keep Austin healthy?
Good question. We need to keep Austin healthy. Stop the bleeding! Quit the taxing! Vote no on Central Health Prop 1. That's how you keep Austin healthy.
And Robert, what do you make of Kirk Watson's statement to KXAN that we're going to save taxpayer dollars by reducing costly emergency room visits and enhancing healthcare?
I have no comment on that. All their comments, they're making like 15,000 jobs created. And he pulled that out of an anal cavity somewhere. Just making it up. And by the way, when you are taxing people and you are taking $54 million a year forever from them, you are hurting the economy, because you are taking away their ability to spend in the economy, their ability to pay for their lives, their ability to run their businesses. It's about shifting money around from one group to another, with a minority being the big benefit, like, for example, Robert Thomas's wife. That's Robert Thomas, who's running for state rep at HD 48. His wife is one of the biggest proponents of this med school tax. She has some sort of fluffy job at the University of Texas, gets paid $343,000 a year. That's the kind of blood-sucking vermin we have who are promoting this thing.
And you kind of touched on this, but how would you rate the validity of the claim that this med school tax and purported medical school that's going to come out of it. We don't even know if that's actually what's going to come out of it. What do you think of the validity of the claim that the school will add 15,000 jobs to the area?
I have no idea, and they have no idea either. What it will do is that it will make the Travis County area even more dependent on the taxpayer. And that's one thing we need to diversify away from. We already have the University of Texas. Everybody who works there is paid for by the taxpayer. We already have the center of state government here. Everybody who works there is on the taxpayer dole. This would increase yet even more people whose jobs and livelihoods depend on the taxpayer. You can't just create something out of nothing.
That makes sense to me. And just expanding on that, how will Proposition 1, the medical school tax, affect affordability and the standard of living in Travis County?
Well, it's going to lower it. You know, you're in a house. Let's say you live in an apartment. Your apartment rent is going up because of this. Do not think that landlord is not going to be passing it along to you, because he will. You know, if his property taxes go up, you know, $2,000-3,000 a year forever, that $2,000-3,000 gets chopped up and sent out to every single one of his tenants. So let's say you're an average tenant in an apartment, and that apartment, you know, cost maybe $100,000. So your annual taxes and your annual rent will probably go up $50 a year. And people say, well, that's not a lot of money. And my reply to them is this as well. Go to your average University of Texas student and tell them you want $50 from them right now, and ask him or her if they think that's a lot of money every year, because they do. Everything's a lot of money. And $54 million a year forever for this med school boondoggle is a huge amount of money. It's probably one of the biggest tax increases in Travis County since I've been here. And it's on the ballot. It's in a very weakened position. It can be knocked off. It can be chipped off. And for anybody who wants to help, can I give out the address?
Please.
To send in some money? You can give it to Don Zimmerman's PAC called the Travis County Taxpayers Union. And they have a webpage. And it's tctunion.com. That's www.tctunion.com. And you can chip in and give him some bucks, and we can buy some more signs, and we can afford to pay for more robo-phone calls. All it's going to take is sending out a message to the greater community, a simple message that we cannot afford this, and we can knock this thing down. It's in a very vulnerable position.
Yes, sir. And just to switch topics a little bit, kind of expand on what's going to be on the ballot here November 6th and in early voting here in October.
Right.
In addition to the 11 propositions that'll be, if you live in the city of Austin, on the city ballot, which includes things such as geographic representation, moving the elections from May to November, extending terms, the length of terms from 3 to 4 years.
They'd love to extend those terms, wouldn't they, Clay?
They sure would.
Why not till 10 years? Just not even vote on them, you know?
Right. It's too expensive to have an election, so let's just call it off this year.
Let's have a monarchy, yeah.
In addition to those 11 propositions I just mentioned, there will be, I believe, 8 bond propositions on the city of Austin ballot. Now, this is a total of $385 million that they're wanting to issue in bonds, about $143 million in transportation mobility bonds, which are purported to be for I-35 and MOPAC improvements.
Vote against them all. No need to list them out, Clay. Okay. There are about 6 or 7 bonds on the ballot. At the very end of the ballot, vote no on every single one of them. They will all raise your taxes because it all involves borrowing. If they were not on the ballot and we were not borrowing all this money, you would get a reduction in your property taxes. So that's why this med school is so insidious. So in the context of your water bill going up, your electric bill going up, toll roads are going up according to the paper, federal income tax is going up. On top of all that, you have a med school tax, and on top of all that, if you live in the city of Austin, there's a $386 million bond package on the ballot. Vote down every single one of those. I haven't read through every single one of those things. They either want to build a library, they want to do a park or a road or something. They're spending way too much money, whatever. They're wasting a lot of money, and just click no, 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 no. When in doubt, always vote no on a proposition or a bond.
And just to clarify for the listener, that bond package on the City of Austin ballot will be propositions 12 through 18 in their respective categories.
12 through 18 vote no, and the other one that we've been talking about is Proposition 1 on Central Health. So it'll be the first thing you see after the general election ballot. In other words, all the Republicans, Democrats, Greens, and Libertarians, you pick for you vote there. I'm voting Libertarian almost every single race. And by the way, I'm voting for Diane Henson for Third Court of Appeals over the Republican Scott Felder, and I'll tell you about that some other time. Okay. The first non-general election line on that ballot that you will see after the general election ballot is Central Health Proposition 1 to raise property taxes 5 cents per $100 evaluation. Vote no on that. It'll be the very first thing you see. That'll be before anything else on the ballot that's not related to the general election. So it's just waiting up there to get smacked down. It's going to be a very close race. I'm going to give out that webpage again. If you want to contribute a little bit of money, you go to tctunion.com or you contact Don Zimmerman at 577-8842. That's Don Zimmerman at 577-8842. Just a little bit of money goes a long way. We're very frugal with this as far as signs and robo-phone calls.
And any other way to get in contact with people that are working against this besides Don Zimmerman that you know of?
You can call me, and I'll get you in the right direction. My name is Robert Morrow, and my phone number is 306-1510 here in Austin. That's 512. That's 306-1510. So here's the key thing that I want to emphasize is that even though we're in Travis County and a lot of people assume that stuff like this passes all the time, that's not the case, because this is all of Travis County is voting on this, not just the city of Austin. And unlike 8 years ago when we passed the hospital district, back then the city of Austin voters were told your taxes will not be raised at all. You don't have to worry about a thing. And now the city of Austin's taxpayers, property owners, are being slammed with a massive tax increase. So it's very different from 8 years ago when this hospital district was passed. And I can't guarantee we're going to beat this thing, but I will guarantee it'll be a very close election. And one more thing. Can I say something, Clay?
Please.
There are a lot of Republicans in Travis County, and it just shows you how pitiful the Republican Party is at the leadership level, who have not come out against this thing, even though the grassroots is against it, the Republicans and the Libertarians, and a lot of independents. And what these Republicans haven't figured out, Clay, is that opposition to the med school tax is more popular than every single Republican in Travis County. Meaning it'll get a far higher vote than Mitt Romney, who's only going to get 37% of the vote. We're going to get somewhere between 49 and 51% of the vote on our side. And it's up to you to make it 51% against this. That this thing is more popular than Gerald Daugherty. It's more popular than Paul Workman. It's more popular by far than Robert Thomas, who's running for House District 48. It's more popular than Vic Vad. And I want to say something about Vic Vad. Vic Vad is a Republican in Travis County running for tax assessor who likes to pretend that he's very libertarian friendly and he'll say all the right things. But when it comes time for Vic Vad to stand up and be counted and oppose the largest tax increase we've seen in Travis County in 20 years, he's nowhere to be found. He's nowhere to be found. He takes no position on this. So Vic Vad is yet another complete and utter fraud. You should never vote for him or follow behind him at all. He's not going to win his race. He's thinking, well, if I be quiet on this, I'll get more votes. No, that's not true. The opposition to med school tax is far, far more popular than Vic Vad will ever be in Travis County. Vic Vad's going to get 36% of the vote or 37% of the vote max. Opposition to this will get 48, 49, 50, or 51, or 52 if we can just push hard enough, folks. So I just want folks to be aware of people like Vic Vad, who talks like a libertarian, but when the time comes, he's nowhere to be found. He's hiding, under his campaign. And people like Robert Thomas, who's a Republican running for House District 48, whose wife works for the University of Texas, who's one of the biggest supporters of this whopping med school tax, and she makes $343,000 a year. And Robert Thomas likes to present himself as a fiscal conservative. So there is a rot and a cancer inside the Travis County Republican Party, and they will get their just desserts on the ballot, but I just hope the taxpayer doesn't suffer because of their cowardice. Thank you.
Well, thank you. And just to elaborate really briefly, what I believe is the problem is we don't have people willing to run for office. It's always some ulterior motive that they're doing it, or some different motivation rather than the motivation to protect our rights. And you think if someone was running for office to actually help out the community, that they would be very vocal about protecting those rights and making clear what their plans are.
You're correct. I think that one example would be the case of Robert Thomas running in House District 48. His wife, he's obviously for this thing. And I think one of the reasons he was running for House District is because he is such a big supporter of big government and taxing people and expanding the University of Texas and giving away a bunch of free medical care, all under the guise of being, hey, I'm a fiscally conservative Republican. Frankly, the man disgusts me. Robert Thomas is running for House District 48. I'm disgusted by that man.
Yes, sir. Well, Robert, I really want to thank you for your time here today. You've done a great job of breaking down what exactly is the medical school tax, what are the bond proposals on the City of Austin ballot, what we need to do to stop these just terrible atrocities against the taxpayer and our citizens here in Travis County. Is there any other thing you'd like to add to sum it up or
yes,
finish up?
Yes, very briefly, is that we can beat this thing. And we can beat it the old-fashioned way through campaigning at the polls on Election Day, November the 6th, by holding up signs, by sending out robo-phone calls who raise just a little bit of money, by emailing all your friends, by using social media and Facebook. You know, we are getting the word out, and we have a very good chance. I'm not saying it's a majority chance. We have a very good chance of defeating this thing. And if we defeat this med school tax, it will send a tremendous message to the big government establishment of both the Republican and the Democratic parties here in Travis County. And let's go for it.
Well, I want to thank you for your time, Robert, and appreciate everything you're doing here in Travis County.
Hey, thanks, Clay.